Think back to your favorite teacher. What was it that made them so great? It probably wasn't just their lesson plans, right? It was something way deeper. Their professional identity. Think of it like a hidden blueprint that shapes every single decision they make. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how that blueprint gets built, piece by piece. It really all boils down to this one fundamental question. It looks so simple on the screen, but answering who am I as a teacher is honestly one of the most powerful and challenging things any educator can do. So why is it so powerful? Because the answer to that question, well, it shapes everything that follows. It's the first domino. It determines if a classroom is going to be collaborative or rigid, if a teacher builds bridges with families or walls, and ultimately, what kind of impact they'll have on their students. Okay, so let's dig into that foundation. This isn't something you just learn in a weekend training course. Oh no. Forging a professional identity is a lifelong process. And believe it or not, it starts way, way earlier than you might think. In fact, those seeds get planted long before anyone even decides they want to be a teacher. They're planted when we're kids, sitting in classrooms just soaking everything in, the good, the bad, all of it, from the adults in charge. We're basically apprentices without even realizing it. And this quote from a student teacher named Miranda just illustrates the point perfectly. A simple memory from the 4th grade planted the seed for her entire professional identity. Her very first idea of a teacher was just someone who knows a lot of things. And that early idea, it's a really powerful starting point. So that initial seed is then fed by this powerful mix of forces. I like to think of it like 2 streams flowing together. You've got your personal life, your values, your childhood culture, and then you have your professional life, the ethics you adopt and the new cultural norms you accept. Your identity sits right where those 2 streams meet. And this is exactly why that self-reflection is so important. It's not just some academic exercise. When you truly understand your own story, your biases, your strengths, your culture, you unlock the empathy you need to really see and understand the stories of your students and their families. All right, so once a teacher starts to get a handle on their why, the next big question is how. This is the part where they start filling up their professional toolbox, turning that foundational identity into effective day-to-day practice. Which naturally brings us to another key question. How does the teacher actually build the knowledge they need to be effective in the classroom? Because let's be real, it's not just about reading textbooks. I find this breakdown absolutely fascinating because it shows that great teaching knowledge comes from 3 really different places. First, you've got knowledge for practice. That's the theory, the stuff you learn from research. Then there's knowledge in practice, which is that hard-won wisdom you get from being in the trenches every single day. And finally, and this is so key, you have knowledge of practice, which is all about the ideas you build by collaborating with your colleagues. And when these 3 types of knowledge start working together, man, something powerful happens. Teachers don't just learn a fixed set of skills, they learn how to learn from their experiences. They're constantly turning theory into practice, and then turning that practice back into an even deeper understanding. And all of this brings us to the ultimate purpose of this whole journey. All this work, understanding your identity, building your knowledge, it's all in service of a much greater goal, creating a real path to equity in the classroom. So what does being equity-minded actually look like? Well, it starts by totally rejecting the idea that a teacher is just some neutral performer delivering content. Instead, it's about being a critical thinker who's constantly asking, how can I actively build a just and democratic classroom right here, right now? This comparison really throws the difference into sharp relief. On one side, you have the passive view. You supervise play, you manage behaviors, you implement preset activities. But the equity-minded view transforms every single one of those. Instead of just supervising play, you're building curriculum from children's cultural backgrounds. Instead of just managing behavior, you're building strong reciprocal relationships. You're not just an activity leader anymore. You're a champion for a more just society. Now, that is a profound shift in mindset and in practice. So the natural question is, how does a teacher actually make that shift? What does that path even look like? Okay, so the path forward can be broken down into these 4 steps. And notice how they build on each other. See, it all starts with that self-reflection we talked about, that reflection that empowers you to question your own methods. Once you're open to that kind of change, you can truly build reciprocal relationships. And those relationships, they become the foundation for championing a more just world, starting right there in your own classroom.
As we start to wrap this up, it is absolutely essential to understand that this work is never, ever truly done. Becoming an equity-minded professional is a continuous journey, not some final destination you just arrive at one day.
I just love this quote from the source material. It captures the spirit of this work so perfectly. The goal isn't to be a perfect teacher from day one. The goal is to commit to the journey of continuous progress and growth. So in the end, a teacher's professional identity isn't some monument carved in stone. It's much more like a garden, a living, breathing thing that's constantly evolving through this cycle of self-awareness, reflection, and interaction with the community it serves. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on, whether you're an educator or not. What parts of your own personal history, your values, and your beliefs will have the biggest impact on the people you influence every single day?